growing turmoil in Israel. Fiery protests erupted in the streets tonight. This comes just hours after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu
Street to Statement, a documentary film where I explore how the streets become platforms for conversations that shape our world. In this documentary, I dive deep into the heart of social and political issues, seeking to understand how art and design fuel these conversations. My mission is clear. Within this film, I aim to explore different ways in which art and graphic design can educate on real-world issues, to really understand their impact on today's society. Welcome to Street to Statement. Let's start our first chapter. To truly understand the meaning of a mural or the power of a political poster, we need to go back to the start and speak with the artists that use their creativity to raise awareness about important issues facing society. Fluid is a graffiti and mural artist from Edinburgh that occasionally, when necessary, uses his platform to raise awareness on the streets. We met with him at Solas Neon, his place of work and secluded creative studio.
How's it going? I'm Cammy. I'm a graffiti and mural artist from Edinburgh. Well, I started off by painting stencils, mainly onto like canvases. That was kind of how I started off, spray painting anyway. And before I started graffiti, I actually started painting murals. So I did a few murals, I did some hand painted stuff, and then I thought I kind of wanted to get into graffiti, but I stayed in a small village near Loch Lomond, so there wasn't many places to practice. So over lockdown I made a little wall in my parents' back garden. I just practiced and practiced until I got to a level where I thought I could start painting in the streets and around Edinburgh and wherever really. So the Union Canal piece, the Slavo-Ukrainian piece, me and my pal just decided to go and paint it basically. We found a good spot for it, big space, and it was a kind of hot topic, and we thought, you know, we should use our kind of skills and voice as graffiti artists to put a message out there basically. I definitely seen it on like people posting it on Instagram and stuff like that. Also, there's also people who didn't like it, painting on it like pro-Russian folk and that, which is like,
It's a bit of controversy.
It's what it is, but yeah.
I suppose you always kind of get that, like with a piece that's to do with an issue, you'll have sides from both.
Totally. So the Brexit poster campaign I did, I actually did most of it in uni. I like used the Riso printer because we just kind of got that going at the time, and with Riso, when you use a master, you might as well just print loads and loads and loads. So I printed loads and I pasted them around Edinburgh. Some were quite small, some were quite big. I kind of paste them on the wall and match them up together as you go, as you paste. So that was quite fun. I saw like some of them had been like ripped off. It was either from like the council or angry people. Other people had like written stuff on it, which was quite funny, or like drawn moustaches or little quotes or whatever. But that's all part of public art and engagement. I always kind of pick my spots carefully, particularly from like a graffiti background. Somewhere somewhere that's not owned by like a business or a person or private property, council, government, why not? Or like boarded up areas for construction sites. And there's quite a lot of that in Edinburgh, and yeah, so places like that are quite good for it. I think it can definitely have an impact, because I think a lot of news travels these days online with people taking photos, sharing it. You know, people take a picture of something, whether they find it funny, whether it makes them angry, whether it makes them happy, or, you know, spreads awareness on something they're passionate about. So I think definitely, yeah. So advice, I would say, come at it with a good idea that's just like quick and straight to the point, impactful. That engages more with people than something that's a bit more complex. And I would also say, just in terms of like what you're doing, practice and be careful about where you're doing it. Yeah. Awesome. So hopefully, well, I imagine people will take photos of it or to come and talk to you. I think it'll be mostly positive. Don't know, you might get the odd weirdo shout some abuse at you, but yeah, it always adds a bit of excitement. Definitely.
Now it was time to hit the streets, so to speak. I took Fluid's piece out and about to see if this kind of art could gather some attention, and let's just say, it did.
Sick. Hi, I'm Manish, originally from Singapore, and I'm working here at the moment.
Dominic, originally from Gambia.
Awesome.
My name is Alex Watt, and I'm a photographer. Street art is, usually in public places, and it can be really seen by anybody, and especially if it's in an area where there's a lot of people, then yeah, definitely.
It's in my head, I'm like, they're trying to raise awareness of challenges occurring elsewhere in the globe.
Professional vandalism.
I think it's a way to communicate a message. It's a way to probably share sentiment from the common man, I'd say.
Awesome.
I think history has shown like art carries a lot of a rich way of communicating a message. So I think that needs to stay.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would say something similar though. People raising awareness about, say, conflict occurring in different parts of the world, Ukraine, in the Middle East. We often take for granted if you live in a peaceful place.
For sure.
And so I guess it's good that we are aware that this is happening somewhere, and if it's not happening here, you should be grateful for what you have. So.
Hearing what the people of Edinburgh had to say about this art really showed me there's a place for it within our urban world. It can be engaged with and appreciated by communities of people from all walks of life. It has the power to really educate on important issues facing society. It just needs to be noticed. After speaking with Fluid and hearing what Edinburgh had to say about the work, I still needed more. I wanted to speak with someone that truly has spent their life using street art and graphic design to raise awareness about an issue that really hits home. I was lucky enough to get a chance to speak with Appleton, a street artist from New York City, a man no stranger to sending a message.
Always was an artist, studied in school, photographer mostly, but always had an attraction to mixed media images and they say distressed and patina type surfaces.
Okay.
Old railways and old ripped posters and things like that. building into my love of street art and the outdoor gallery that you see that it is today.
Yeah.
Moved to New York from Boston. Me and an old girlfriend. I don't know if you know, of course you know Banksy.
Yeah.
Very influential person, as well as Shepard Fairey on my career. And Banksy made a film called Exit to the Gift Shop, or Exit Through the Gift Shop. Just about his street art, the journey. This guy named Mr. Brainwash, whether he was fictitious or not, but about that guy's street art journey, and just real cool about the history of it. But had always been attracted to street art, the messages, and just the passing by of seeing graph and graffiti, and how that can influence people throughout the day. You just see something on the street, you may think about it all day long. Something you might not see in a gallery or a different forum. So the streets around the world are very cool. I've been lucky enough to travel and do my art, and it's always inspiring to be received. And using the public space that somehow magnifies your message, you know, as much as television or whatever the latest platform to get ideas out. Blah, blah. I'm diabetic. I went into a coma at the age of 6. Fortunately came out of it. And I'd been to a doctor a couple days earlier, and the doctor sent my mother and I home. Basically told me I had a cold. A day later, my mother threw me over her arms, brought me to the hospital. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Sadly, my mother realized what I had because I lost a sister a few years earlier before I was born.
Okay.
So a lot of it, of course, comes from my upbringing, the death of my sister and the meaning for my mom, and that people are too young for diabetes. That's one of my phrases, too young for type 1, you know, had an incredible effect on me. When I was younger, you never spoke about it. You never talked about it, but today it's out and open. So my art was an earlier way of just getting it on the street, sort of expressing it, and have a slow following of people who began to recognize it. Started putting up pieces. I didn't tell anyone who I was. And I did meet this gal, and she said one day she was on her way to work and she was, you know, done with it. She was ready to, diabetes every fucking day, gets really old every day, full-time job with no day off. And she saw a bottle of insulin on a huge street art building down on Bowery, just by Delancey, a famous building. And she knew. I put this huge 5-foot bottle there, and it said the insulin label that we all grew up with. You know, it made her day. It made her day. She was bawling, and then bawling in happiness. She like, you know, it's hard to manage diabetes. It really can be. Even with the best of tools, it's really hard to manage, to watch your blood sugar. To sum it up, to make people feel less alone, as I felt very alone, and God bless everything that goes on today. There's diabetic camps and communal groups and stuff like that, but it wasn't that earlier on where I felt the need to reach out. For you. Sadly, my friend's daughter was diagnosed with type 1 a few years ago, and a good buddy of mine. But in New York, you see people when you do, and sometimes weeks go by. I'd heard from his a mutual friend that his daughter had been teased at school and blah blah blah, because in the beginning, you don't get all this bionic stuff. You are taking shots. You're still testing your fingers. And I can remember kids doing that, and my brothers doing that. And I started putting up bottles on the way to her school route. And she knew immediately what they were and told her father. Her father knows I'm an artist and diabetic, but he didn't really have, he did make the connection for some reason. I thought that was odd. But they called me out one day and she said, "It's you, I know it's you," and smiled. And I said, "Yeah, I've been putting those up." And a couple of them, I put her birthday in on the top of a bottle, made it look like a serial number. And incidentally, she became like the coolest kid in school because she taught these other kids about street art. That's my focus, is the diabetes, and bringing it to people's attention. And I had some work up back in my a couple months ago, and it said that, and somebody crossed it off, and somebody put "A child hears you," and I made a whole other sign and put it back up and said, "I'm glad a child hears me. That's the point."
Yeah.
Messages are personal to one's own, and most people have whatever message you have. Political, some people are just doing it to be comical, just to show their art, just for the sake of showing it. Be inspired, go out and don't hesitate to do all that, and find different forms of doing it, from markers to spray paint, which I'm not good at, I never took up, and not my thing. Go big. Go big is always big. Big stays up longer. Be safe. Don't be afraid to get arrested. Just do, and enjoy it. It's a thrilling fucking thing.
Appleton showed me that it isn't just about having a massive effect on society as a whole. It is about each individual person that can be affected by what they see in the streets. The impact these forms of communication can have on someone's everyday life. That's what's important. Now, graffiti and street art are not the only choice if you're looking to raise awareness. Protests and picket signs can be nothing but historic. I took the opportunity to attend the Free Palestine March held on the Mound during a very cold January. Historic is an understatement. Amidst the complete chaos, I took the opportunity to speak with some of the attendees about their banners and signs to try and better understand their message.
I'm Tommy Davidson. What brings me out today is the injustice that's being perpetrated on the Palestinian people. What do I think? I cry for the 30,000 children that are maimed. The 10,000 that are dead are gone. We can only grieve them, but the 30,000 who've got their leg off, their arm off, their eye out, their ear off, the skin off their back, they have that for life. And I know maths. A population of 2.2 million with 50% under 18s is going to have 50% under 18 casualties in this carry-on. And our adverts here, well, I grabbed one and I trotted out here to the front of the footpath to hopefully every driver will read it at least, and anybody passing.
As much people the better. Your banner today?
It's the last poem written by this fella, Rafat Alia. He wrote it a month before he was targeted by Israel. He was murdered by Israel. It was a targeted attack on him. He's a scholar and a poet.
And what?
And this was part of his poem. It's the last thing. If I must die, is the whole thing. If I must die, you should take my things, bring string, make a kite, make it white, so the children in Gaza can see. It's a beautiful poem. It's worth looking at.
Perfect. Well, what's your name and what brings you out today?
Cara, I'm here for the ceasefire for Palestine.
Cool. And so what's your sort of like goal for people that see this that might not understand or know about what's going on?
My goal is to make people aware that there are people in real danger. There's lots of people dying and lots of people in horrible, horrible pain. Absolutely no one is getting any of the needs that they need. And this is the way to stop that. We need to free Palestine from the Israel state.
After the speakers had finished, the herd had one last demonstration. A group of protesters lined up throughout the crowd and held up posters with photos of children that had sadly lost their lives to the conflict, with the words "Rest in Peace" displayed above. The crowd then had a moment's silence to remember these fallen children and truly leave a mark on everyone that attended, including myself. This process has shown me that it's not just about impacting governments or those in power. What truly matters is how these forms of communication bring people together. They unite individuals in a shared cause, fostering a stronger, more caring society. Using these powerful mediums to engage with each other is a privilege we must cherish. I urge you to pause, to scrutinise what surrounds you, and to express your views in the creative form that suits you best. With each individual voice, the collective influence grows. Fluid showed me the place for street art within our urban world, sparking conversations with people on the streets about a very important issue facing society. Appleton's perspective shifted focus, highlighting the profound impact of these forms of communication on everyday life, showing just how impactful these art forms can be. The protest showed me the power of united people, emphasising the place for visual communication in driving awareness and change in support of anyone that needs it. Street to Statement has shown the transformative potential of visual communication found within our urban world that we call home. It's not just about aesthetics, it's about provoking thought, sparking conversations, and inspiring action. Turn your streets into a statement. Peace.